This is part 2 of The Possessive Tyrant and His Sleepy Cat. You can find the first part in the pinned comment and description. Hey everyone! I've created a new channel to explore even more amazing stories, which will also serve as a backup channel. I love to have you all in joining me on this new adventure. Channel link is in the description. Now back to the recap. The Duke asked, "Your Highness, is the lady doing all right? I think some sleep would benefit you." The prince replied, "I have a plan. I am going to bring Reinette forth to the world." After that, the prince asked, "Is Reinette still asleep?" Irena replied, "Yes, she has been asleep the whole time you've been gone. I finally remember what I wanted to tell her." The prince asked, "What is it?" Irena replied, "It is a story about the bleeding tree that has been passed down through our family. I was hoping that it could be a clue to breaking the curse." The prince said, "Is that so? I will tell Reinette about it when she wakes up. I will take care of her from now on so you can get some rest." After some time, Reinette woke up. The prince said, "I was worried. No fever. I was concerned because your cheeks were red." Reinette replied, "I am fine." The prince asked, "Are you sure? Don't push yourself too hard. By the way, Irena wanted me to tell you something. It's about the bleeding tree. She said she doesn't remember the details, and while you were asleep, we looked into the dark magic potion." Suddenly, Senua burst into the room. He said, "What took you so long to wake up? Do you have any idea how hard it was for me this whole time? I practiced controlling my powers a lot. See, you are in human form now. You're awake, all thanks to me." Reinette replied, "Thank you. How are you feeling? Did you get a dizzy spell the last time you used your powers?" Senua said, "That's not true. You are not in a position to worry about me." The prince stated, "Get out." In the next moment, Senua thought, "What the hell?" The next scene, it is a potion that manifests fears in the form of nightmares. If the countess made the potion herself, wouldn't that mean she has magical powers? The prince replied, "If that were the case, the Royal Bureau of Magic Regulations would have kept track of her." Reinette told them, "The countess does not have any magical powers. There was a time when she snuck into the prince's bedroom. She was set on digging up any negative information about him. If she had powers, the enchantments on my garments would have detected them. However, she was not able to find anything." The Duke said, "If that is the case, she must have obtained the potion from someone else. Could it be Macmillan, since he has good relations with the countess?" The prince replied, "He is merely a parasite of political power. He doesn't have what it takes to be involved in something so bold." Reinette asked, "Then is there anyone else who would help the countess?" The prince replied, "In order to figure that out, we will need the guest list of the royal masquerade ball, since that is when the countess began to stand out. The thing is, the countess manages the list now, which is because whoever coordinates the masquerade ball takes on the role of managing the list." The Duke asked, "Haven't the Hamiltons been taking care of that?" The prince replied, "Interestingly enough, the reason why the countess ended up taking over the role is because the Hamiltons disappeared overnight." After some time, Reinette thought, when the Viscount Hamilton couple went missing, the countess took over the inner workings of the royal palace. Her tyranny became increasingly blatant and audacious. "I never knew that the corruption ran so deep in the palace." The prince came in and said her name. Reinette asked, "When did you get here?" The prince replied, "You didn't respond to the knocks. It looks like you were so deep in thought that you didn't even notice someone opening the door." Reinette asked, "Are you here to scorn me for being careless?" The prince replied, "Of course not. What were you thinking about?" Reinette replied, "About what we were talking about earlier. It seems like it will be difficult to get a hold of the list from the countess. I've got a feeling whoever is helping her is even more sinister than she is. I don't know if we will be able to find the Hamiltons. I wonder if they are even alive." The prince asked, "Did you know wizards are able to track down anyone else who also uses magic?" Reinette also asked, "You mean it will be easy to find the Hamiltons? That's great." Then she thought, "It's too close. The truth is, ever since I regained consciousness, the memories have been slowly coming back." Then she asked, "By the way, what brought you here in the first place?" The prince replied, "Before I leave, I need to tell you something. You will stay here for a while." Reinette thought, "What?" Then she asked, "Me alone?" Is it because I became human, since my form is no longer easy to hide? Rhinette thought. Hearing that I will be left behind is making me feel so anxious. The prince told her, that's not why. This is not a problem at all. Your form is not the issue. It's because there is something you need to do here for the next 15 days. Valvon will explain everything, so don't worry. Rhinette said, I hope the 15 days fly by quickly. Then she thought, I didn't realize until now, because we have always been together, that I have an unconditional trust in him. The prince asked, you think 15 days will pass by quickly? Rhinette replied, about 2 weeks. That's not too long, don't you think? The prince said, I see how it is. Then he thought, it feels like such a long time to me. After some time, Rhinette asked, the masquerade ball, I have to attend in human form. The prince replied, Sanua's power is not perfect, but you are able to remain human as long as he is awake. It's time to stop hiding in the shadows. Rhinette asked, even so, attending the masquerade ball seems too. The prince interrupted, Duke Brynhilde will help us out, even though it's one of the very few duchies that exist in the empire. They rarely set foot outside of their own estate. The duke is married, but he has not had a child, so you will be introduced as their daughter. Rhinette asked, what if someone grows suspicious of me? The prince told her, Rhinette Brynhilde. That is your name from now on. You can do this. Next scene. The prince said, she could fall off, that's dangerous. The duke told him, why don't you wave back, she's waving pretty hard. The prince replied, no thanks, it's fine. For the lady waving her hands from the balcony, 15 days is a short time, apparently. After that, the prince said, once you find any clues about the Hamiltons, report back to me immediately, and as for the coachman driving this carriage. The duke replied, Herod has taken care of the coachman's memories. The prince thought, the Huppert Empire prohibits dark magic. I believed for a long time that everything related to dark magic had been completely eradicated. Then he asked, if you were searching for information about dark magic that is undisclosed to the public, where would you go to find that information? The duke replied, in that case, I would check the royal archives. The prince told him, the countess requested permission to access the royal archives. My father granted her the permission, of course. According to Rhinette, the countess does not possess any magical powers, so, in order to use dark magic, she must possess a magical object. On the other hand, the countess thought, the royal archives, the answer is in the royal archives. Where is the damn thing? There are so many books to look through. This ring creeps me out every time, with human blood inside the gem and all. Fabian Nellas. Who the hell is that, anyway? Suddenly, she felt pain and said, okay, I'll keep looking for it. A servant came in and asked, is everything all right? I received word that His Majesty is looking for you. The countess thought, that annoying old fart. Then she said, my goodness, His Majesty can't bear to be separated even for a moment. The countess thought, I don't know what this book is all about, but finding it won't be that hard. Once the whole palace falls into my hands, combing through a library will be a piece of cake. Next scene. A lady spoke, good morning, we are having corn soup again, of course, it's your favorite, Rhinette thought. I didn't mean that I wanted to eat corn soup every single day. I wonder if the prince is eating well. I hope he hasn't had anything with dark magic potion again. If only he would reply to my letters, I wouldn't have to worry like this. I've been waiting, but he hasn't sent one letter. It's even more concerning because he said it's difficult to detect magic potion in food. I hope he's not starving. Sanua asked, why are you sniffing around? Do I smell bad? Herod told him, wash yourself. Sanua replied, I showered yesterday. Herod said, I told you to shower every day. You're gross. Rhinette thought, I should focus on my work anyway. The reason why I stayed back is to get my work done, but still, I am a bit disappointed. The next day, Herod spoke, and that concludes today's lesson. Rhinette replied, thank you for the lesson. Herod told her, with my father being away, I had to step up. Rhinette asked, come to think of it, Count Valone took off after breakfast to investigate the Hamiltons' case. Right. I guess you'll be quite busy for a while. Is there anything I can help with? Herod replied, thanks for the offer, but my father entrusted me to do this. but there is one thing. If you see Sanua, bring that punk, bring him to me, please. After that, Rynette thought, there he is, playing hooky. Sanua said, wait, I'm on my break. I'm not skipping my lessons. Rynette thought, that's a lie. Then she asked, are the lessons pretty difficult? Sanua replied, they're boring. Learning about weird texts, and never about cool animals. Rynette thought, he seems to like animals a lot. I wonder if he knows anything about plants. Then she asked, do you know a lot about plants, too? Do you know anything about the bleeding tree, by any chance? Sanua replied, I've never heard of it. If that is important, then just ask again. If you want to know about plants, who else would you ask if not the animals that live in the wild? Rynette said, oh my gosh, are you a genius? I'll keep it a secret that you were skipping the lessons. Then she thought, that's right, Sanua can communicate with animals. Now there's a better chance of finding clues about the curse. This will make the prince happy, for sure. Then she said, thank you so much. Sanua shouted, get off me. The prince came and asked, what is going on? Rynette replied, have you come to pick me up already, or maybe not? The prince replied, I'm just stopping by because someone expressed anger toward me in a letter. Rynette asked, are you saying I did? The prince replied, you said if I didn't reply, you wouldn't tell me a funny story. Rynette told him, that's because I was worried. I asked if you could at least let me know if you're in good health. The prince stated, so here I am, specifically at this hour. Rynette thought, is he serious? He came all the way back just because of my letter. The prince said, if I'm not mistaken, you seem to have a lot to scorn me for, too. After some time, Rynette asked, you haven't been sleeping well, have you? The prince replied, I've been sleeping very well. Rynette said, lies, don't even try with me. The dark circles and bloodshot eyes are telling me the truth, you look so pale. Have a warm cup of tea, the prince asked, how has your stay here been? Rynette replied, totally awesome, it's amazing here. Then she thought, I don't want him to worry. The prince stated, I'm still taking you back to the palace, even though this place is comfortable for you. Rynette replied, of course I shall return, where else would I go? Then she thought, wait a minute, did he take it to mean that I want to continue living here? She said, I'm taking my lessons seriously so that I can return to the palace, how I yearn to go back soon. Then she thought, why does he not look sleepy at all? I brought the tea specifically to help him sleep. She asked, don't you feel drowsy? The prince replied, not at all. Rynette thought, no way, when I had this tea, it put me right to sleep. This gives me no other choice, I didn't want to have to resort to this. The prince asked, what are you doing? Rynette replied, I'm sorry. The prince said, so this is what it feels like when people say their heart sank. Why are you doing this? Rynette replied, because I want you to have good quality sleep. The prince asked, so you body slammed me. At the very least, I must commend you for your determination. Rynette replied, thanks for the compliment. Since I got you to lie down, I'll get going now. The prince grabbed her and said, what if I don't let you leave? It's because I'm not going to sleep. Rynette asked, that's impossible. The tea you drank earlier promotes sleep. There, close your eyes, your highness. Just trust me and get some sleep. After that, the prince woke up, then said, Rynette. She is not here. Where did she go? There she is. Rynette asked, are you done with your class? Sanua replied, of course. I told you I wasn't skipping. Rynette said, you're giving it your all. How respectable. The prince thought, Rynette looks so relaxed. I've never seen that expression on her before. I'm the one who has been with her from the start, but she doesn't act freely around me. Why is it that she does around that brat? Rynette said, your highness, how did you sleep? I'm glad you got to sleep for a while. The prince replied, thanks to you. Rynette thought, could he still be tired? He seems to be in a bad mood for some reason. Suddenly, Herod came and told them, my father returned. He found the Hamiltons. After some time, Herod said, we brought them to this cabin in our forest for now. Please be cautious as they seem to be mentally agitated. The prince replied, will do. Both of the Hamiltons shouted, let go of us, you bastards. Do you realize who we are? How dare you lowly peasants lay hands on us? Rynette thought, Those are the Hamiltons. They used to manage the royal household and wield a great deal of power. But now they are reduced to such a pitiful state. What did the Countess do to these people? The prince asked. What is wrong? Reinette replied. Those people, they reek of the odor of dark magic potion. Hamilton said. Once I return to the palace, I shall make sure to execute you lowly fools. Your Highness, I have made a grave mistake. Please spare me. The prince asked. You think I found you to punish you? Hamilton replied. Please have mercy. I will never accept any bribes again. The prince asked the Duke. How did you find them? The Duke replied. I was tracking down their lost traces with magic, and then I discovered a special wall in the basement of their manor. I broke down the wall and found the Hamiltons locked up in there. The prince asked. Underground storehouse, is it possible they were hiding to evade embezzlement charges? The Duke replied. Given the significant amount of dark magic potion detected in the stored food, it's less likely that they hid themselves, but rather, that the Countess imprisoned them. Suddenly, Lady Hamilton shouted, Catherine, you should die. Reinette thought, it's going to hit me. The prince saved her. Lady Hamilton continued shouting, this is all because of you. It's all Catherine's fault. She's the reason why we were locked up. Reinette thought, she mistook me for Countess Gisela. Something serious must have happened between them to provoke such intense hatred, even in an altered state of mind. The prince stated, I can't stand this any longer. Confess before my patience wears thin. Tell me anything you have witnessed or been involved in, and about the crimes committed by Catherine. Hamilton said, Catherine, that evil wench, there was something fishy about her right from the beginning. For instance, she popped out of nowhere as a commoner, came into the palace, and rose to power. The prince said, the power and influence supporting the Countess must have a connection to the royal masquerade, where she began to stand out. Who was the one that gave her the invitation? Hamilton replied, the thing is, I swear I want to tell you everything, but I know close to nothing about who wrote the letter. All I saw was Catherine handing it to me. She showed up alone, without any escort. The prince asked, what did the letter say exactly? Hamilton replied, it requested for Catherine to be allowed to attend the ball. It also asked to denote Minister Cliver MacLean as her companion. Reinette thought, I don't remember seeing anyone with that name in the original novel I read. Hamilton continued, after that, the minister came up to me and asked who she was. Unlike what it said in the letter, he didn't seem to know her at all. Then I saw them together later, and the minister seemed to be groveling to Catherine. The prince asked, how did you end up getting locked up in this basement? Hamilton replied, Catherine gained His Majesty's favor and trust. Our position naturally became precarious. It was at that point that Catherine suggested we take a year-long vacation abroad. It was practically a threat more so than a suggestion. We couldn't come up with a good enough excuse to decline her offer, so we were getting ready to leave. Then we had a visitor, we lost consciousness, and we found ourselves in this basement. After that, the prince said, let them stay here for a while, Cliver MacLean. I will investigate him. The next morning, Irena said, there you go. You will be the most beautiful girl at the masquerade ball. I know His Highness will be there to protect you, but still, be careful. Reinette replied, yes, of course, then wish me luck. Some time later, Reinette thought, to think that I'm going to the palace in my human form. The prince doesn't know how to detect dark magic potion. I want to find the antidote for him, an antidote that only the crafter of the dark magic potion can make. I may be able to find something in the Countess's room. Since I can get inside the palace now, this is my chance. In the next scene, Reinette thought, how am I going to find the prince amidst this huge crowd? Now is not the time for this. I'll go upstairs to look for the prince. I should have asked him what kind of mask he was planning on wearing. The prince said, my lady, are you looking for someone? Reinette thought, this is the prince's voice. Then she asked, who are you? The prince replied, someone who can't fall asleep without you. Does that ring a bell? Reinette said, you're silly. How did you recognize me right away? The prince replied, I could just tell. The countess thought, so that girl from before with silver hair, I see she's crawled back in on her own. Reinette said, there's something I wanted to ask you in person. Then she thought, wait, is that the countess? Is she looking at me? Reinette spoke. Wait a second, let's go talk somewhere else. The countess thought, run away if you can, there is nowhere in this palace you can hide where I can't find you. After that, Reinette thought, this has got to be far enough away. Suddenly, a noble lady said, my hair is stuck. Hold on, I'll get it out. The next moment, she was on the prince, and both of them looked at each other. Reinette thought, I know that woman, hair as red as roses, eyes as golden as the sun. She must be the female protagonist of the original novel. Her name is Vanessa Enclair. In the novel, they meet for the first time at a masquerade ball, and they grow closer as the prince untangles her hair for her. The prince said, come here and help me. Reinette thought, he's making me do it instead of doing it himself. She said, there, I got it out. The prince told her, it would have been easier if we could cut it. Reinette replied, no, please refrain, your highness. Vanessa asked, your highness, you mean, you are the crown prince? My deepest apologies, forgive me for not recognizing you and making a mistake. The prince replied, it's fine, it was an accident. Reinette thought, is it because they are the main characters of this world? They look naturally compatible, even though it's their first time encountering each other. She is the real female lead who deserves to be by the prince's side. This feels weird. Vanessa spoke, Duchess Brynhilda, I am sorry, Duchess, please excuse my belatedness, but with His Highness's introduction, allow me to properly greet you. My name is Vanessa Enclair. Then she asked, it is such an honor to meet you, my lady. Are you two attending as partners? Could it be, are you two lovers? I couldn't help but notice that His Highness can't seem to take his eyes off you. Reinette replied, no, we are not. It's true that we've known each other for a while, but we are not anything like that, Vanessa said. I'm sorry for making you uncomfortable with my rude question. After some time, the prince asked, do you hate it that much, being mistaken as lovers with me? Reinette replied, I was just correcting a misunderstanding. I'm going to take a quick break. After some time, Reinette thought, the current situation has deviated so much from the original plot, but still, they found each other as if by fate. They're the main characters, and eventually, they will fall in love. Unlike someone like me, who is cursed, where am I supposed to go then if I can't be with him? The prince came and said, you have a knack for making me worry. Did something happen? Reinette replied, no, I'm just a little tired. The prince told her, I'm sorry to make you do this while you're tired, but don't take this mask off from now on, no matter what. Then they heard, His Majesty has arrived. Reinette thought, so, he's finally here, His Majesty, Emperor Adolf. After that, Reinette thought, wait, the Countess is sitting next to the Emperor instead of the Empress. Herod taught me that at events like this, the Empress attends to display royal greatness and authority. However, the Empress is not present, and instead, the Countess is sitting in her place. Something is not right. She has her mask off. Then she asked, do we have to take our masks off when facing His Majesty? The Duke replied, if one wishes to greet His Majesty without a mask, they may request to do so. Most nobles want to show their faces to His Majesty so that they can be recognized. Reinette thought, the Countess has her eyes on Vanessa. In the original novel, Vanessa stood out to the Countess, and as a result, the Countess made her an offer. It was a compelling offer to appoint her as the Empress's maid. But unbeknownst to Vanessa, there was a caveat. Only if one of the existing maids were to be eliminated could Vanessa replace them. And the name of the maid who was sacrificed, I remember her name. It was surely Countess Cavendish. She assists Her Majesty the Empress most closely. If Countess Gisela still has the same plan in mind, then Countess Cavendish may be in danger. Reinette introduced herself, and after some chat, she said, I have always wanted to meet Countess Sophia, then thought, she was known for her unwavering loyalty to the Empress. She continued, I have always looked up to Her Majesty the Empress. Her Majesty does so much to ensure peace and prosperity for the Empire. The Countess said, you are more interesting than I would imagine. If Her Majesty were here, she would have been so happy to hear this. Reinette spoke, as it is my first time visiting the palace, I was hoping I could make friends with ladies my age. Do you happen to have any daughters? Then she thought, if I remember correctly, the Countess definitely has a daughter. Countess Sophia replied, it is a shame. I do have a daughter, but she is already married. She even gave birth to a child just last night. I am traveling to Littleborn to see her tomorrow. Rhinette thought, she is going to Littleborn, so tomorrow at noon. It is tight on time. If I can avert the Countess's plans for tomorrow, I may be able to save Countess Sophia. I have to do this. Suddenly, the Countess came and asked, "What is your name?" Rhinette introduced herself. The Countess said, "Lady Brynhilde from Denneberg, where outsiders are rarely allowed to enter. I wonder if I will ever have to see you again. Everyone, since this is such a rare and special opportunity, what if we ask the lady to take off her mask?" The nobles said, "That's a good point. Denneberg is usually an inaccessible area. After all, it would be a huge honor to see Lady Brynhilde's face." Rhinette thought, "Why is she putting me in this position? It is as if she's trying to confirm something by seeing my face." The Countess asked, "So many people are asking you to unmask. You are not going to decline, are you?" Rhinette thought, "She is using the crowd to manipulate me so that I can't refuse. What do I do? I might look suspicious if I don't take the mask off, but I promised the prince." Then she said, "I don't want to unmask." The Countess asked, "Lady, what did you just say?" Rhinette stated, "I will repeat it for you since you didn't hear me the first time. I said I don't want to take the mask off." The Countess asked again, "Lady, think of everyone here." Rhinette replied, "No, I trust that you won't insist any longer, as I have made myself clear on this matter." In the next scene, the Countess shouted, "That damn bitch, how dare she embarrass me like that? Send an urgent message to the Brynhildes." The servant replied, "Your Grace, that would look like we are suspecting Lady Brynhilde. They may take it as an insult." The next moment, the servant was on the ground. The Countess asked, "When did I ever permit you to talk back to me?" The servant replied, "My apologies." The Countess shouted, "That woman is definitely the maid I saw the other day. You think silver hair like that is common? Some chambermaid manipulated the prince to deceive her identity and get into the palace." Then she thought, "That is definitely what happened, because that is exactly how I got here." A maid came and said, "We are in trouble. We managed to bring Lady Vanessa as you ordered, but His Majesty has privately summoned Lady Brynhilde." The Countess thought, "What?" On the other hand, the Emperor said, "I can't believe the Brynhildes protected and hid you this whole time, until you grew into a fine young lady. I too care greatly about my son, but not to this extent." Rhinette replied, "My sincere apologies, Your Majesty." Then thought, "Who cares about who? That's the most ridiculous lie I have heard during my time in this empire." The Emperor said, "It is not an apology I want to hear from you." Prince also entered, and the Emperor said, "I was just about to ask the lady about her family." The Emperor asked, "Lady, what do you say to staying here for a few more days? It will also give Lady Catherine a chance to apologize to you. I know Catherine only meant well when she asked you to take your mask off, but I would still like to pay proper respect to you." After some time, Rhinette asked, "This counts as getting His Majesty's attention. What were you going to do if you didn't end up summoning me?" The prince replied, "Well, then I would have probably introduced you as the one I want to marry." Rhinette thought, "What?" The prince continued, "I was just kidding. You hate the idea that much?" Rhinette asked, "How did you take it that way?" The prince said, "So you don't hate it, then would you marry me?" Rhinette replied, "Well, I was." Then she said, "You're messing with me, you're laughing." The prince said, "Give me your hand, I will take you to your room." Rhinette replied, "That's not fair." The prince asked, "Is there anywhere you would particularly like to go?" Rhinette asked, "I want to know where the Countess's room is. The antidote to the dark magic potion might be in there. If we can get that, you would be safe in the palace." The prince stated, "Why are you bringing up things I didn't even tell you to?" "Wait, that came out wrong. I'm sorry I sounded aggressive, I'm just worried about you," she said, "but still, this may be our only opportunity." The prince told her, "I don't want you to do anything dangerous." After that, Rhinette thought, "I understand that the prince wants me to be safe, but this is my only chance at finding the antidote. If I try to argue with him, I might get locked up in a room for the rest of my time in the palace. I'm going to have to look for the antidote without letting the prince know." The prince said, "It's getting late, let's tour the palace tomorrow instead." Rhinette replied, "I can't tomorrow. I have to go to Littleborn. I heard there's a nice dress shop there, so I want to check it out." The prince said, Let's go together then, Rhinette quickly responded. No. Well, the thing is, it's a secret boutique that only allows ladies to enter. What would people think if the prince showed up at a secret spot like that? Could you please do me one favor? The next day, Rhinette thought, I have to do what I can while I'm in the palace in human form. Meanwhile, the countess thought, so, the lady is taking a trip outside, or should I say Irena is taking a trip. A low-born woman who doesn't even know who her father is, pretending to be a noble and taking over the position of chief concubine, that's what she's trying to do. That's her survival tactic, how bold. Since you coveted my position, you will be crushed to death, like father, like son. They have the same taste in women. The emperor, addicted to the dark magic potion, will succumb to his demise without any additional effort on my part. But it's not enough for the young prince. This is actually a good thing. I will reveal that she is, in fact, not a daughter of the Brynhilds, and I will completely crush them, then I will take over the royal palace. On the other hand, Rhinette thought, is this too much? But I had to cover for my lie about shopping. Suddenly, a horse rider appeared, shouting, guards. Knights, where did they come from? Let's get out of here for now. After some time, Rhinette said, I see that you haven't embarked yet. That's great because I wanted to give you something before you leave. These are some gifts from me, please accept them. She thought, I'm sorry, Countess, I know I look like a crazy person right now. So, this is her carriage. I think Countess Gisela could have done something to that carriage. Rhinette then said, I will help you load the carriage. The next moment, she fell to the carriage. The Countess was shocked. Rhinette said, oh my God, I'm terribly sorry. The carriage is ruined all because of me. The Countess asked, Lady, what are you doing? Rhinette responded, but don't you worry, my carriage works just fine. I'll take you to Littleborn in my carriage. After that, the Countess's daughter asked her mother, who might this lady be? The Countess introduced Rhinette. After some conversation, Rhinette said, I have to go into town for something. You two enjoy your time together. On that note, could you allow me to take your coachman to town with me? The Countess replied, of course, you may. Rhinette thought the Countess would be safe during her time here, so in the meantime, she would quickly check the surrounding areas, because Countess Gisela's men might be hiding nearby. In the next scene, Rhinette thought, it is difficult to find a critical clue in such a short amount of time. That coachman, since he first greeted me, has looked so uneasy. Even now, his hands are trembling more and more. He seems so suspicious for someone the Countess trusts. The coachman asked, excuse me, my lady, I am feeling a bit hungry. Could I excuse myself for a moment to grab some food? Rhinette replied, of course, please go ahead. Then she thought, I can't afford to lose him. He ate 3 sandwiches, corn salad, and 10 macarons for lunch. There's no way he's hungry already. He lied to go somewhere else. Schumann's pigeons. What kind of storage is that? Another person asked. Can you confirm the address is the Royal Palace Rose Garden? The coachman replied, yes, I can find it. Rhinette thought, that's a pigeon post. On the other hand, a servant spoke, Your Grace, you've got a letter from the Rose Garden. The Countess resorted to reading the letter. There is someone else in the carriage, so he recommends tracking Countess Cavendish after she gets back to the palace. How stupid is he, taking so long to kill just one person? Tell them to burn down the carriage. The servant asked, what about the coachman? The Countess replied, when did I say I wouldn't kill him? So it's fine. The servant said, understood. As for the educational fund for his son, that you promised. The Countess snapped, what are you yapping on about? What use is the fund for the son when his father is dead? The servant replied, yes, Your Grace, I will do as you order. In the next scene, Rhinette thought, I asked the coachman where he went and what he was up to, but he got flustered and confrontational, shouting that I was unfairly suspecting him. I have reasonable suspicion that the coachman is involved in Gisela's plans, but I don't have the physical evidence to convince Countess Cavendish. After some time in the carriage, Rhinette thought, first off, I don't see any other carriages or houses around. I don't want to have to resort to this. But here we are. The Countess asked, why is he driving so fast? Let's tell the coachman to slow down. Rhinette thought, I know this is super dangerous, but this is our only chance. Then she asked, do you trust me? The Countess replied, "No." Reinette spoke, "Well, we still have to do this. You have to trust me because we need to jump off." In the next moment, a huge blast occurred in the carriage. The Countess was shocked. Reinette thought, "No way. They blew up the whole carriage. What about the coachman who was still in it? What if we had jumped off any later?" Suddenly, she yelled, "Run!" The Countess said, "Duchess, your ankle." Reinette replied, "I'm fine. We need to get out of here before someone finds us. If we can make it to the carriage I ordered earlier, we'll be safe." After that, one of the attackers said, "Niece, it blew up big, noble or not, they get barbecued all the same when they blow up." Suddenly, one of them said, "Wait, do you see these footprints? Let's look around for a minute. I don't think there's anyone else here besides us." Reinette thought, "Good, now go the other way." The next moment, one of them said, "There are rats, though. Hello, little lady." Such a classy lady scurried away so fast. "You're not supposed to get away and hide, you know." Reinette thought, "What do I do? We need to get away." The other one said, "You want to save her, come closer. If you don't come closer, I'll kill her." Reinette replied, "Okay." The Countess shouted, "Run." The attacker also shouted, "Shut up, I'll make an example out of you." Reinette thought, "No, Your Highness." Prince hugged her. Reinette asked, "How did you find us? I was so scared." The prince replied, "I'm sorry I'm late." Then he said, "These people attacked the Duchess and the Countess. Capture every single one of them." After some time, a knight reported, "We have captured and tied them up. They won't reveal who they are working for. Should we torture them or end them?" The prince asked, "How is the Duchess?" The knight replied, "The Duchess and Countess are traveling with the guards." The Countess requested to go to her daughters. The prince stated, "All right then. Who was it who dared to touch the Duchess? Was it you?" In the next moment, Prince stabbed him. The prince said, "Send the rest of them to the palace prison." The knight asked, "If we send them to the palace prison, it will be difficult to get intel out of them. Whoever hired them will probably kill them first." The prince said, "That's fine. If they kill them, that's less work for us." The knight asked, "Understood, Your Highness, but why did you kill that one guy yourself?" The prince replied, "He dared to touch something precious, something so valuable that even I handle with caution." In the next scene, the Countess's daughter said, "Mother, what happened? Are you hurt?" "My goodness, the Duchess too. Are you all right?" Reinette replied, "I'm fine. Please get some treatment for your mother." The Countess stated, "Get the doctor. The Duchess hurt her ankle." Reinette said, "So, they think this is how it is. I learned about it by chance. I thought it would be hard to believe even if I tried to explain." The Countess said, "Thank you, because of you, I'm able to see my daughter again." Reinette replied, "My pleasure, I'm glad we made it out alive." After some time, the doctor said, "You sprained your ankle. Refrain from using it and ice it for about a week. If the swelling doesn't subside, we will conduct further diagnosis." After that, the prince told her, "You're not supposed to stand up." Reinette asked, "Are you mad at me?" The prince replied, "I guess I'm mad that you got hurt. Do you feel pain anywhere else?" Reinette said, "No, I just tripped a little." The prince stated, "You have scratches all over your face and neck. One of your ankles is sprained, and the other foot is ripped up in wounds. Being cute doesn't make up for it. I don't remember you telling me you planned on meeting with the Countess." Reinette told him, "But it's true, I came to Littlebourne, you know, I wasn't lying." The prince asked, "You said you came here to look at dresses, you lied. Do you really think I would let you roam around on your own?" Reinette asked, "Did you know about everything?" The prince replied, "I was worried about your safety. I had guards follow you immediately up until the accident. They kept some distance so you wouldn't notice. I think they were trying to be considerate, so you could enjoy your time without their presence getting in the way, but they were too considerate. If they had lost you then," Reinette said, "but you found me. You saved me before I got hurt badly." The prince told her, "I almost lost my mind thinking that I had lost you." Reinette replied, "I'm sorry I made you upset." The prince said, "No, it's not you I'm mad at. I'm mad at myself for failing to protect you. I'm sorry again for showing up too late, so please, don't ever get hurt again." Reinette replied, "Okay, I'm sorry, and thank you." Then she thought, Aren't we hugging for too long? I'm starting to feel embarrassed. His breath is kind of tickling me too. The prince stated, I had a thought. I think you know things that I don't, isn't it weird? Herod said your memories were wiped. Reinette replied, if I really knew something, then I would have avoided getting hurt like this, don't you think? The prince said, that's true, you're right. I don't know why, but I need to find out. Whatever you worry about manifests in reality soon after, and then you resolve those problems as if you've been expecting them to happen. Could it all be a coincidence? Answer me. Can you see the future? Reinette thought, this world is inside a novel. You will get addicted to the dark magic potion and become a torrent that drives the empire to the ground. There's no way I could tell him that. Then she said, I heard that the countess's daughter had a baby. I was just there to give her celebratory gifts, and then I got involved in the carriage accident. If I knew the future, I wouldn't have been that scared. The prince said, that's true. You must have been so scared. I scrutinized you instead of comforting you. I'm sorry I let this happen to you, and that you got hurt. Reinette replied, no, it's okay. How is any of this your fault? I said I was scared because I just wanted to see you worry about me. You know, you kept yelling at me. The prince stated, you had me so distressed, and you want me to worry about you even more. You're so, Reinette thought, is he angry? The prince continued, you really drive me crazy. You know that. I guess you know when you smile like that, you can get me to do anything. You must be tired. Get some rest. I'll get out of your hair. If you make me worry again, you'll get a spanking. Reinette replied, I'm not a child. The prince told her, you're something close to that. After that, the prince thought, I can't take my eyes off you for a second. How can I keep you safe next to me? At last, this is the only way. On the other hand, the countess shouted, what? The assassins who were tracking the carriage got captured by the prince. Those useless scums. Move out of the way, a servant asked. Where are you going? The countess shouted, do I really need to tell you? I need to go to the dungeon to silence those idiots. After some time, the countess overheard the assassins chatting. Do you think they'll execute us? One asked. The other replied, no way. I heard the target may have gotten away. If I knew we'd end up in a cell, I would have had some fun with that girl at least. If only he hadn't gotten distracted by that silver-haired girl. Anyway, what a bummer, she was so hot. The next day, Reinette thought, my whole body is sore. What the heck, I can barely see. Did my eyes swell up from crying last night? Reinette heard the prince's voice. Are you up? Can I come in? Reinette replied, no, you can't come in. The prince came in and said, you're up. Reinette asked, why did you ask if you were going to come in anyway? The prince said, first a cat, then a person, and now a giant loaf of bread. Reinette told him, you don't understand, I look awful right now. The prince asked, why, are you feeling sick or something? You don't look weird, right? The prince then stated, indeed, you don't look well, your wounds have swollen even more, but compared to that, your puffy eyes look cute. Do you feel any pain anywhere? Reinette asked, what are you talking about? The prince said, thanks to you, my heart is strained. If I were to die young, it'd be your fault. Reinette asked, why would you say something like that? You're going to live a long life. The prince said, in order for that to happen, I need you to cooperate. Through marriage, marry me. Reinette said, what? Don't tease me like that. The prince told her, I'm serious. Reinette replied, even if you are serious, how could I marry you? The prince asked, why not? Reinette responded, we don't even know who I really am, and there's so much we have to figure out. On top of that, I'm not a duchess. The prince stated, but how is that a problem? If you're hesitant about marrying me, then use me. Use me by marrying me. Besides, how do you plan on getting into the royal archives without marrying me? Don't tell me you plan on contacting the duke and turning into a cat to go into the archives every single time. I'll give you 3 days. Just think about it. I can't wait any longer than that. The next day at the countess's daughter's house, she asked, is everything all right? Reinette replied, yes, it's delicious, and then thought, why did he have to bring up marriage all of a sudden? The next moment, Michio came. The countess spoke, it's a letter from the empress. I wrote to Her Majesty saying I wasn't able to make it back because of the accident, so she sent me a reply. She is happy to hear that we are doing fine. She says not a day goes by that she doesn't think of His Highness. The prince asked, "How is mother doing these days?" The countess replied, "She is trying to recover as best as she can. She gets filled with joy every time she receives a letter from you." Reinette thought, come to think of it, it's been a while since His Highness wrote a letter to the Empress. Could it be because he seldom receives replies? I hope their relationship isn't in trouble. The prince said, "I think he wants to meet you. Come here and pet him a little." Reinette replied, "Okay," and then thought, "I feel like I've seen him other than the time I was a CA, he's already leaving." Reinette said, "I think I've seen Michio before, if my memory serves me right. I saw him in my dream during those few days when I couldn't wake from the nightmares. In the nightmare, I saw a white light in the darkness. At the end, it wasn't a light," the prince said. "So, you're saying Michio appeared in your nightmare and helped you wake up?" Reinette replied, "Yes, it was definitely Michio. I also heard someone's voice. All I could tell was that it was a woman's voice." The prince said, "Perhaps someone sent Michio to your dreams. I think it's best to get to the bottom of this. I will ask Her Majesty to send Michio to us again." Reinette replied, "Thank you, Your Highness," then thought, could it be, what if the Empress is related to my nightmares? Will His Highness be okay? After a few days, the Emperor asked, but the carriage that Lady Brynhilda and the Countess were in was attacked. The prince replied, "Yes, Your Majesty." Thankfully, Lady Reinette handled the situation wisely, so there were no casualties. However, due to the accident, Lady Reinette is severely injured and can barely walk without assistance. Reinette thought, "Who, me?" The Emperor asked, "How is your injury?" "Wait, before all that, Lady Reinette, have you alerted the Duke about this already?" Reinette replied, "I judged it appropriate to tell you first, so I have not reached out to my father yet." The Emperor stated, "That was very thoughtful. Your injury seems quite severe." Reinette replied, "Thank you for being considerate. I can't imagine where I would be if His Highness hadn't come to our rescue. I was so afraid, I didn't get a minute of sleep." The prince stated, "I received the report that the prisoners we brought back have perished due to fighting among themselves. We found 2 robbers that ran away that morning, and they had evidence that they were hired by someone." In the next scene, the servant asked, "A handwriting analysis?" The Countess replied, "They are starting with the nobles dwelling in the castle. His Majesty is handling the matter rather swiftly." The servant asked, "I won't be investigated, will I?" The Countess replied, "Of course you will be. They're checking everyone." The servant said, "I only wrote the letter because you asked me to." The Countess replied, "Don't worry, it won't be for long. I'll make sure it isn't too shabby in the cell for you. I'll give you the Railver estate next year." The servant asked, "Doesn't the Railver estate belong to the Hamiltons?" The Countess replied, "Do you realize how long the Hamiltons have been missing? Their land is going to become mine soon, so put yourself together and help me get ready for the dinner banquet." After some time, Reinette thought, how can she be so calm? She's confident she won't get caught. Then she thought, wait, I know this smell. This is laced with dark magic potion. Your Highness, don't eat this. The prince asked, is your head itchy or something? Reinette thought, why can't you take the hint? I've got to do something. The next moment, she started sneezing. The emperor asked, lady, are you okay? How about covering your mouth? The next moment, he thought, what the hell? Reinette said, I'm so sorry, I have allergies. The emperor asked, what are you allergic to? It seems pretty severe, Reinette said, the thing is, blueberries. Then she whispered, what are you laughing at? The prince replied, because the lovely lady has blueberry allergies, but her face looks like a tomato. The countess said, your condition is so severe, I will ask them to bring out something else for you. The servant asked, should I take away everyone else's steaks as well? The countess replied, there's no need for such a fuss, His Majesty and His Highness should dine before the food gets cold. Reinette started sneezing again and said, sorry, when I'm near blueberries at all. The prince said, looks like we need to take the berries out of all our plates. The countess asked, but isn't that doing too much? The emperor stated, her reactions are pretty serious, it's not like we need to eat these particular steaks. The prince said, I should have taken better care of the Duchess, my apologies. How about I take care of her for a while and eat with her separately? The Emperor said, what is your opinion on that? Reinette replied, I would be much grateful if we did that. The Emperor stated, very well, then let's do that. After some moments, Reinette thought, we ran into the commander earlier, we've been trying to maintain our distance, at least we are almost there, so many steps, with my injury, it will take at least half a day to get to the top. Suddenly, the prince said, excuse me, I figured it would be hard for you to climb the stairs on your own. Reinette said, people can see us. The prince replied, that's why I'm doing this. The countess said, well, get some rest. By the way, lady, it looks like you are used to being carried by a man, acting like this in the palace. I wonder how you behave back in your own home. The prince stated, watch your mouth, I won't stand you being rude to my guest. The countess thought, what was that? He's never expressed hostility like that before, how dare he undermine my status over a worthless girl? Then she said, my apologies, your highness. Countess asked, have you found out if she is the real Duchess? The commander replied, we're on it, we should receive a report by tomorrow. The countess said, okay, that's good, we'll find out soon enough and show everyone that she's a fake. The next morning, Reinette thought, I'm sore everywhere, it's bustling outside so early in the morning, they said they're going out for a hunt today, His Highness is over there, and the countess is there too, I guess they're there to send them off and wish them well. The next moment, Reinette said, your highness, then thought, he disappeared, he was there a second ago. Suddenly, the prince hugged her. Reinette asked, when did you get up here? The prince replied, it's dangerous out on the terrace, why did you come out? Reinette replied, because I wanted to say goodbye and wish you good luck. Did you come all the way up just to see me? Why? The prince replied, what do you mean, why? When I see you, I have no choice but to run to you. That's a no-brainer. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? In the next scene, the minister said, answer me without looking. Have you found anything in the archives? Reinette replied, nothing yet. The minister stated, he warned you not to draw any attention to yourself. While you are investigating the archives, just focus on finding the items related to Fabian Nellas. Reinette replied, sure thing. When can I meet him? The minister replied, soon, as long as you bring the thing he's looking for. Reinette thought, when is he going to stop looking down on me? Whatever. Today is the day the message sent to the Brynhilds finally arrives. I wonder what kind of expression His Majesty will make once he sees the true lowly side of that woman. After that, Reinette asked, is that one up there the Countess's room? Hazel replied, yes, Your Grace, the third room on the second floor is the one. Reinette thought, recently, Valogne's disciples have joined me at the royal castle, disguised as servants. Then she asked, have you met the Minister of Magic Regulations? Is he hard to come across? Hazel replied, that can't be true. He was at the masquerade ball and also at the hunting meet-up. Reinette thought, come to think of it, I think I did run into him earlier. Why can't I remember his face? Gaspard came and said, Countess Gisela is on her way to the casino. After that, Reinette thought, although something dangerous could happen again at any moment, this makes me feel like life is normal again. Then she asked, do you think the Countess goes to the casino often? That's hot. Why does everyone look so serious? The Countess said, I didn't know you were so interested in me. I see you are enjoying your tea time talking about me. You can always ask me directly if you want to know about me. I suppose I will have to be the one to reach out first since you seem like the shy type. What do you say to visiting my room? I've got a tea room in my quarters. Allow me to serve you some desserts you probably haven't tried in Daneberg. Reinette thought, this is definitely a trap. However, if I can get into her room, I can look for the antidote, my chance. On the other hand, a knight asked, aren't you tired of pretending to be a bad shot? If the juniors back at the academy were to see this, they would flip out. The prince replied, that would be quite an interesting sight. The knight said, I'm serious, even His Majesty is convinced you are a terrible shot. The prince replied, if he doesn't see me as a threat, that's a good thing for me. The minister said, that would be easier for me. Allow me to show you all a little bit of entertainment. The prince asked, what do you think you're doing? You killed a life using magic without His Majesty's permission. how dare you threaten His Majesty's safety? The minister replied, my intention was to provide him some entertainment, please don't take it too seriously. The emperor stated, Killian has a point, you cannot use magic without my permission, even if it's for my pleasure. The minister replied, I will keep that in mind, Your Majesty. The prince said, let's wrap this up early, this is a bad omen. After that, Reinette thought, Hazel said she will come to help if she hears a commotion. The next moment she thought, the whole room is covered with gold. The countess said, feel free to look around the room. Reinette thought, I need to find out where the essence of the dark magic potion is emanating from. I don't feel anything from that room. Nothing from the tea room either, that must mean it is in this room. The countess asked, curious about the dressing room, come to think of it, I heard you are into fashion, would you like a little tour? Reinette thought, she is indeed the most powerful and most favored by the emperor after all. I hope the antidote is around here too. The countess said, I was supposed to pass down some others, but I have completely forgotten, I need to step out for a moment. Reinette replied, in that case, I will go back to my room as well. The countess told her, it will be quick, so just stay, I would love to chat with you some more when I get back. Reinette thought, what is she scheming now? This is a good opportunity for me to search something in this closet. I can sense it, right here. Is she seriously storing these so openly? This just looks like plain old coral powder. His Highness once told me that nobles use coral powder to dehumidify inside their closets, so that's how she manages to store these without looking suspicious. Something is in my bag. What is this? A ring. Did the countess slip this in my bag to frame me as a thief? What should I do with this? Let's just put it in that jewelry box. The next moment, she was shocked. What? I've never had this reaction before, even when facing black magic potions. Is that a note? Fabian Nellis's prayer. How does the countess have this? Obviously, I know the countess can visit the royal archives freely, but why does she have a handwritten copy of this prayer? I should take one of these rings too. No, wait, since she's trying to frame me, she'll search my body to catch me red-handed. If she finds these on me, I can't carry them out. Should I throw them out the window? Is she back already? I need to be quick. Please stay right there in the same spot. This pink diamond ring, I'll just toss it here for now. The countess came in and said, was there anything you would like to keep for yourself, or do I need to address you by your real name, Irena Scott? Reinette asked, what are you talking about? The countess slapped her, then said, how dare you pose as a duchess when you are merely a maid? Hazel shouted, Your Grace, what is happening in there? Let go of me. The countess said, the prince fell for your pretty face. I wonder if he'll still be fond of you after I'm done with it. Reinette asked, what are you going on about? Then she thought, she's awful. Stepping on my injured ankle, is she going to beat me until I die? I'm done for. It looks like Hazel is tied up outside. How is she so strong? I don't care who. Anyone, please help. Is anyone here? The prince came in and said, how are you here? Do you think you can get up? Then he looked at her. The prince said, put this on. The countess spoke, I see how it is. You're the one who let this bitch into the palace, aren't you, Your Highness? Losing your senses over a woman. You're just like your father. In the next moment, the prince said, Catherine, how dare you? The emperor came in and asked, what are you doing? Withdraw your sword immediately. The countess said, Your Majesty, please help me, His Highness is trying to. The emperor shouted, do you not hear me? I said, withdraw the sword. The prince stated, if you promise to hold Catherine accountable for her crimes, then I will. The emperor asked, what crimes could she have committed? If she has committed a crime, then I will handle it, so, withdraw the sword. The countess said, tell him, Your Majesty, that wench hid her lowly background and pretended to be a duchess. She attacked me when I confronted her about it, so all I did was defend myself. Reinette thought, is she kidding? She barely got a scratch on her arm. The countess continued, I've seen a maid in the palace that looks just like her. I thought it was weird, so I looked into it. Inside sources from Daneberg, like the traders, testified that they've never heard of any Brynhilde offspring. She's using the fact that the Duke doesn't leave his estate and disguising herself to stay at the palace. I invited her to resolve it in case it was a misunderstanding, but then she denied the truth and even attacked me. The emperor shouted, "What on earth are you talking about? The duke is on his way here as we speak. I just received a letter from him. The duke is coming here to check on his daughter." The countess asked, "That can't be." The emperor asked, "Lady, did the duke send you a letter as well?" Reinette replied, "No, he did not mention his visit to me." The emperor said, "I guess he wanted it to be a surprise. How did you, a wise woman, end up having such a misunderstanding and escalating the matter with the duchess?" The prince stated, "Lady Reinette is hurt. We will go get her treated. What about your promise to hold the countess accountable?" The emperor replied, "Sure, I will do that. You can leave now." The prince asked, without an apology. The countess shouted, "Your Majesty, this is unfair. Even if that bitch, that woman, is indeed a real duchess, the fact that she attacked me and even stole my ring doesn't change. The ring you gifted me disappeared as soon as she stepped into my room." Reinette said, "If you need to, you can search me because I am innocent." The emperor said, "Thank you for your cooperation. After the search, one of the maids spoke. We found the ring." The countess said, "I told you." The maid's voice came again, "We found it under the mirror just now." The emperor stated, "Apologize to Lady Reinette right this moment." Like this video. Hit the like button and subscribe for more videos.